Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is a most unusual segment. I know it is for me. When I was a young person, really, really young, I had heard about this area of science called cryonics. And what we were told then was that it's when you freeze people so that they can be revived later and continue to live life. It's obviously more complex than that. The technology has advanced way more than that. And I've invited Ben Best, the CEO and president of the Cryonics Institute, who's been in the industry for 20 plus years, to help explain and clarify what cryonics is, what's happening in the industry, what some of the details are about, so that we have a more familiar understanding with the paradigm behind it, the applications of it, and the opportunity of it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ben Best to It's Rainmaking Time. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Hi.
When I was led to do a piece on this with you, I first said to myself, why am I doing this? This is so kind of off the beaten track. Then the other part of me said, but this is part of life extension in a different way than we understand it. Can you explain it to the public? What is cryonics?
Well, one way of thinking of it is an ambulance to the future, if it works. We believe that future medicine will be able to rejuvenate people to a youthful condition and cure all diseases. But we're not there yet, and the only way we can get there is by putting ourselves in a time capsule. And cryonics is the best time capsule we've got. When you lower people to cryogenic temperatures, minus 321 degrees Fahrenheit, there's essentially no changes happening to your body tissues. And the problem, of course, is that ice formation. You get ice formation if you don't do any treatment. But if you can replace the body water with another solution, another compound, a vitrification solution, we call it, cryoprotectants, then you don't get that ice formation. You don't get that freezing damage.
And what is the compound that you use?
Ethylene glycol. It's a mixture of ethylene glycol and DMSO in an isotonic solution.
And what does it do to the body, in essence?
Well, it's just it's substituting for water. Water is going to cause ice to form, and ice is what's damaging. Ice is what damages cells. But if you replace that water with the vitrification solution, then that doesn't happen. It's basically an antifreeze, and these compounds just prevent ice from forming.
How long does it last, and when do you actually do all that? And what's the distinction? I know I'm asking you a lot at one time, but what distinguishes somebody as dead, but for you, they're not really dead? Like, is there legal dead and then there's body dead? What does it mean?
Yeah, we call them patients. There was a time, even today, people, emergency medical people distinguish between clinical death and legal death, or biological death. And the distinction they're making is between when someone's heart stops and when there's really no hope for a person. And when a person's heart stops, they're clinically dead. But if you use a CPR and a defibrillator, very often you can get the heart to start again. So it's just a matter of technology that's changed our perception of what dead is, and we see it as the same thing with cryonics. Where if we apply our procedures and stop all changes, we're doing something like CPR on a very long, much longer time scale. Human embryos they're very small tissues, and it's easy to use cryoprotectants to prevent freezing damage in small tissues. But there's hundreds of at least 100,000 embryos, human embryos that have been at liquidation temperature and then brought back to develop into a fetus and a baby and a human being, an adult.
So let's take it from the top one more time. There's a difference between clinical and legal death. Clinical death is what? One more time.
That's when the heart stops.
Okay. Now, what if the heart stops but the brain is still active?
Well, the brain may not be active, but the capacity to be active is there. I mean, it's just a matter of starting the heart again and keeping the brain functioning. When the heart stops, the brain doesn't suddenly explode, and the idea that the brain is destroyed after 6 minutes is incorrect. But
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Well, what is true is that the longer you go past 6 minutes, the greater the likelihood and the greater the degree of neurological damage that ultimately happens. But that's ultimate. That can take a long time. It isn't immediate. And the point is to even after an hour or more than that, the neurons actually take even after 6 hours. Only 15% of the neurons are dead. So the structure is there. The point is to preserve the structure. It's the idea of death is a legal concept. It's good to have some strong line where you can say this is dead, this is alive. But in truth, it's a process. Decomposition is something that goes over a period of days and weeks, actually, as the tissues become more and more of a mush and less of something that has a capacity for life.
So, for example, when someone dies or is clinically dead and they're put into a refrigerator, that doesn't mean that they're still alive on a brain level, right?
Well, there are people who have been given low temperature surgery, and there have been dog experiments where dogs have been basically made very hypothermic, down to 10 degrees Celsius or something like that over a period of an hour or two, and they can be brought back. And as I say, with this hypothermic surgery, they're just slowing that. Every 10 degrees Celsius that you drop, the metabolism is cut in half, and the metabolic rate at 4 degrees Celsius, the refrigerator temperature, is about 1/18 what it is at body temperature. So the more you slow things down, the more you slow down the degradation process. Now, refrigerator temperature isn't cold enough to certainly keep a person preserved for centuries. It'll keep your food from going bad, but for the time frame that we're looking at, and we hope it isn't centuries, 1 century at the most, we want very much lower temperatures, cryogenic temperatures, liquid nitrogen temperatures is what we use. And liquid nitrogen is very cheap, and also we pay about 12.5 cents a liter. So we can keep a person cryopreserved for $100 a year, hopefully for as long as necessary.
Wow. So how does the families of people who are being cryogenically preserved say goodbye? In other words, the whole process is they're gone, but they're not.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset completely.
Well, I suppose, people say goodbye when a loved one goes overseas on vacation or something like that, for 2 weeks. There might be even or if